everybody, it's me, Shaw360. How are you doing? Today is the 16th of February 2023, and just a couple of things to talk about, not much. To start, I have ordered Keys Killer. I'm ordering it from Catch Up CD. Well, I just said I've ordered, and then I said I am ordering. Let me clarify. I ordered the the CD versions already, but the QR code and the SMINI version came out today, and I haven't ordered those yet because Catch Up CD doesn't let you order those until the day they come out. So I haven't ordered them yet, but I'm going to be getting them. I really, really like Keys Killer. I think that it is a very good repackage. Hi, Sarah. I think it's a very good repackage. I think that it was done very, very well. I think the B-sides are good. I really like Guilty Pleasure. I think it's very good. I think Killer's just a great song. I know a lot of people are mad that it sounds like Blinding Lights, but that's literally what I asked for. So I feel like this was for me. And fuck you other bitches if you don't like it. But away from there, let's talk about something incredibly messy. And I want to talk about it because it's messy. I'm going to talk about some SM stuff. But first, I want to talk about Kim Namjoon. I want to talk about him because there's a lot of stuff about BTS that I absolutely do not keep up with. One of the main things that I don't keep up with when it comes to BTS is like Instagram lives, Weverse television shows, basically anything outside of the music I don't keep up with. So I don't keep up with the webtoons, I don't keep up with the fan fiction stuff. Like I just don't keep up with it. If it's not about the music, I really just don't care. I don't even know who they're ambassadors for at this point. So if you told me like they're doing Armani, Dior, Dolce & Gabbana, all that stuff, I'm like, yeah, sure, you're probably right. Because I don't keep up with it. However, today I could not escape a piece of content. Apparently, Namjoon, I think he went on Instagram Live, and people were like, hey, what's that scar on your neck, daddy? And he was like, oh, it's an injury during CrossFit. And then shortly after ended the live. Y'all, an injury right here on the neck, right here. What fucking CrossFit activity would you be doing that would cause you to have an injury on your neck? That makes no sense. It makes no sense. I know of an activity you could be doing that's not CrossFit that would have somebody putting a mark on your neck. And I heard it's called the horizontal tango. But, you know, there's a lot of people who want to believe the CrossFit narrative, who desperately need to believe the CrossFit narrative. All I have to say is, do you really think after, at this point now, almost 10 years of being idols, they're like, what, 8 years old now? After almost 10 years of being idols, you don't think that maybe some of the members of BTS are getting it in? You don't think that maybe a man who's looking at enlistment like very soon isn't just like totally wilding out on somebody and like just going to town with them? First of all, Namjoon is a very handsome man. I think he's good looking. I know a lot of other people who agree with me. And as a good looking man, it's easy for other good looking people to say, hey, I find you attractive. I'd like to do nasty things to you. How is it outside the realm of possibility that instead of some random weird ass CrossFit accident, maybe he was just fucking, and the person he was fucking just started sucking on his neck to like keep down the moans? And if that's what happened, who fucking cares? Seriously, who fucking cares? Personally, I hope he got down with somebody. Personally, I hope he wore somebody out. Personally, it'd be nice if it was me, but that's not gonna happen. Even though I told Stevie that if that's her new stepdaddy, she better be nice to him. All I'm saying is this. I think that it's okay for a man who's almost in his 30s to have consensual relations with other people. And it's not anything that's scandalous. It's not anything that we need to be like, ooh, clutch our pearls. I think that it's fine. The only thing that I think is awkward about the situation is that after it was noted that he had the mark on his neck, he was like, "Oh, it was a CrossFit accident, and it just nothing happened." Like all the awkward placing of the hands. This is the thing. You literally just did a project called Indigo, where you basically told everybody like, you're tired of the rumors. I make too much money to pay attention what the gossipy people say. I'm living my life. I'm doing my thing. I need to be allowed to have experiences. You just basically did an entire manifesto about the idea that you should be allowed to have a personal life and you should be allowed to grow in order to be able to be an artist. I don't know why you are clinging so heavily to this idea of being like alone, basically. Like not even like clinging to the idea of like I could be your boyfriend possibly, but just like I don't have a significant other, I don't have a romantic life, I don't have A, B, C, and D. Like instead of acting like that, especially because you have like a super horny ass song on your album about like being in the hotel room wishing you could crawl up under somebody's skin, like instead of pretending like you don't have people, you could just be honest and be like, hey, I do have people occasionally, but it is hard to maintain a relationship when you are someone who is living the life that we're living. And I could say it's probably very hard to have a relationship with somebody when you are constantly traveling all the time, when you are constantly being photographed all the time, when you're constantly having other people trying to intrude into your private life all the time. I imagine that it is very, very difficult to be able to like be with somebody and be like, yeah, I want to date you and I want you to wait for me as I travel around the world, and I want you to be able to be okay with people following you around all the time because of your association with me. Like that's the part that I feel like I get if you would be like, I don't want to reveal who I'm dating because I want to protect their privacy. But at the same time, just be like, yeah, I mess around with people because I'm a young, wealthy, good looking man. It's reasonable. It's reasonable. It is reasonable. But anyway, messy, messy, messy. Now let's talk about the big stuff. The big stuff. Okay. We've been talking about this SM takeover, merger, acquisition, conspiracy theory stuff for a while now. And actually, I'm going to do a separate video talking about like basically everything. I have like 20 pages printed out to talk about it, but I'm not going to talk about that here because like I said, I'm going to do a whole separate video for it. But today, the latest thing that has happened. Oh, hi, David! The latest thing that has happened is that Chairman Chris Lee, who is the nephew-in-law of Yi Soo-man, did a YouTube video basically calling out his uncle-in-law for being a tax crook and basically putting out the idea that Yi Soo-man himself has been purposely sabotaging SM Group's their comebacks and has been stealing money and creating Hong Kong tax havens and just a myriad of things that, while wild, could absolutely be true. Could absolutely be true. So, a lot of people are not aware of the relationship between Chris Lee and Yi Soo-man. Also, a lot of people aren't aware that like Yi Soo-man was born very, very wealthy. Like he was born super wealthy. He's not a rags to riches story by any stretch of the imagination. But I digress. Anyway, Yi Soo-man was married to a woman. She died. She had a niece, and her niece married Chris Lee. And Chris Lee got his start working for SM, I think when he was like 19 years old, and basically worked his way up through the company. He got one of those like jobs that made it look like he was starting from the bottom. And instead, it was just like basically a ploy to be able to like say he worked his way up from the bottom, but like there was always the intention that like you're going to get a job at SM, you're going to get paid very well, and you're going to use the money from this job at SM to kind of show that you're qualified to eventually have like a leadership position. But like you're always going to be taken care of, because Isuman does have, I think, one son, but I don't think his son is involved at all in the business. Like just doesn't have anything to do with it. Anyway, and this is not the only relative Isuman, by the way, who's had the ability to be treated to the perks of SM. I mean, we all know Sunny is another person that Isuman gave a little bit of preferential treatment to when it came to SM. Anyway, Chris Lee. He has been kind of the target of a lot of Isuman's anger about the whole Kakao Talk situation and everything else. And he's been the target of this all because Isuman intentionally placed Chris Lee in the company to be an advocate for himself. He's like, we are family. Your job that I'm giving you is to defend me. And Chris Lee has not been doing that. He has not been protecting Isuman. Now, I don't know if the reason why he is not playing the lackey for Isuman is because something happened in their private life that he's upset about. I couldn't tell you. But Isuman has been personally saying that Chris Lee and the other co-CEO of SM have been intentionally kind of like icing him out, doing deals behind his back, basically treating him like shit. And that he had to enter into his deal with Hybe because of them kind of underhandedly doing stuff against his wishes. Well, Chris Lee has said, the real crook in the room is not me, the crook is you. And in the video, he basically says that Isuman has a company that is very similar to Like Planning. And we've talked about what Like Planning is. Like Planning is this company that Isuman has that basically is the creative arm of SM. So instead of SM having their own in-house designers, artistic directors, stuff like that, they contract with Like Planning to do all these endeavors for them. And Like Planning gets a percentage of the profits, they get royalties from the albums, they get a lot of perks, they get most of the profit of SM for providing this service. Well, Like Planning is wholly owned by Isuman. It's not even a part of SM. It is owned by Isuman privately. And apparently, Isuman has a company called CTP, and the allegations are that CTP is a company established in Hong Kong, wholly owned by Isuman, and it's established in Hong Kong in order for tax purposes, but that this company is basically in charge, has ownership of all of the non-Korean activities for SM. The allegations are that every artist at SM is signed to this company for their overseas work. And that is anything outside of Korea, Japan, China, US, everywhere. And that this company makes major profits from this activity. And part of the reason why they're trying to get Isuman the fuck up out of here is because in his deal with Hybe, even though it says he's not going to engage in any entertainment activity in Korea for 3 years, he would basically be in charge of all of the SM activity outside of Korea for God knows how long, because of secret agreements that Chris Lee says that Isuman has made within the company that go against the actual financial interests of the company. Like, these are basically sweetheart deals that no one would ever realistically enter into unless their intention was to defraud. So, that's a thing. Another thing that is very interesting is that he is saying that along with these Hong Kong dealings, other offshore overseas dealings that Isuman has includes buying land in places where gambling is legal with the intention of setting up casinos. Now, this is very interesting because in Korea, gambling is illegal. Not only is gambling illegal in Korea, It is illegal to go to other countries if you are a Korean citizen and gamble. I don't think that the tax authorities or the legal authorities in Korea would take kindly to a Korean citizen opening up a casino in another country. That could be a problem. Another thing that Chris Lee is accusing Isuman of, and this is probably the most outlandish thing, but you know what? At this point, I wouldn't say that it couldn't happen. He says that Isuman, in addition to trying to set up this casino, is trying to set up a series of festival venues in places where the consumption of marijuana is not illegal. That way, people could come to these K-pop festival areas and enjoy K-pop and marijuana consumption at the same time. Again, marijuana being highly illegal in Korea, he's basically saying he's going to open up venues that encourage you doing something that you cannot do in Korea. And then the last thing that I think most fans are probably the most angry about hearing is that he has accused Isuman of sabotaging aespa's comeback. Apparently, aespa had a song ready for her comeback, and it was supposed to be a good song, nice, everything else. Isuman basically directed the company to rewrite the lyrics of the song that was supposed to be the comeback song so that it would include messages about sustainability and 1% consumption decrease and planting trees. And basically, it fucked up the whole song. The girls were heartbroken to see how fucked up the song was, and the company had no choice but to like scrap the comeback because it was so thoroughly fucked up by Isuman. But apparently the reason why he did that was because there had been big talk about removing him as like the head of creativity for SM, and he has been allegedly has been actively trying to sabotage the comebacks of SM artists in order to be like, look, see how lost the company is when I'm not the one in charge? Oh no! This is like a K-drama. This shit is wild. This shit is wild. I don't know how we got here. I kind of do know how we got here, but I don't know how we got here. But I can't wait for this to go to court. Like, somebody's going to end up in a courtroom. There's no way that we can be going through everything that we're going through now and not end up in a courtroom somewhere. The only question is, when are we going to be in a courtroom? But I can't wait. I cannot wait for all of this to be adjudicated. Because at this point, it's not beyond the pale to believe that Isuman would do something like this. I don't know if you all remember something that happened back in 2021. It was October of 2021. There was a thing called the Pandora Papers. And in the Pandora Papers, Isuman's name is mentioned. The Pandora Papers were a large cache of documents that was released to show a bunch of places around the world where world leaders, celebrities, high-profile individuals were hiding their money for tax purposes. And Isuman's name is mentioned in several corporations in Hong Kong. The excuse being that it wasn't that SM was hiding money, but that these companies were companies that were established by Isuman's father that were then willed to his mother, and they didn't have anything to do with him. They were like family money, and that his poor widow mother had no idea what was going on, but that it wasn't SM trying to hide assets, which is why I said, never forget, Isuman was born rich. But already there is a documentation of possible activities that Isuman has made in Hong Kong already. So it's not beyond the pale to say, oh, this is where he's keeping his like evil mastermind plan that's under the radar. It's not too far beyond the pale. Not only that, but we've talked about before how at one point Isuman was wanted by Interpol for tax evasion and embezzlement in Korea. I think it was around like 2002. Also, Isuman, I want to say in like 2011, 2012, also was being investigated for tax evasion and other bullshit by the Korean government. and got a pardon from the president for his activity. No, it was 2007, I think it was. I think it was 2007. Also, they had plans to close the SM Coax Ardeum because they were going to start like a whole big hotel, entertainment complex experience in Changwon City, I think. And the Korean government basically shut that down, saying that a bunch of favorable treatment was being made in the construction of this project, which caused the project to go on hold. So there are activities and histories surrounding Isuman that have spoke to not so above the board dealing. So it's not impossible to believe that he had these other kind of more nefarious plans. The question is now, how much of this did HYBE know about? And it's an important question. It is an important question because HYBE came out after they bought Isuman shares and said that he had agreed not to do the 70-year royalty shit that he was planning on doing. He agreed not to do the 3 years of being the manager at SM. Also, like the 70-year royalty thing, Isuman is 70. He's not going to live for another 70 years. I don't know why he wrote that into his contract, whatever. Anyway, they had got him to drop those two things, plus not be involved in any entertainment media management for 3 years. But the question is, did they know that so many artists in SM and so much of SM's overseas activities was tied up in this shell company that Isuman has? That he runs directly, that has no shareholders, that no one else is involved in any of the decisions made? Because if HYBE did know about that, the question is, did they know about it and they made a deal for that entity as well? Because if they made a deal for that entity as well, there's a good chance it doesn't matter what the fuck happens between Isuman, SM, the shares, Kakao, whatever. Because if HYBE has a deal on the table, a paper deal, to own the overseas management company for SM, it does not matter what SM does in Korea. HYBE virtually will own SM because they will be the ones that decide what happens overseas for all the SM artists. But if HYBE didn't know about this deal, if they didn't know about this company with this whole overseas management thing, does this affect the deal they made with Isuman? Do they have a clause, like a disclosure clause, that would cause them to maybe decide to rear back on the offer they've put on the table for his shares? Like, this is so involved and complicated and spiteful and, like Sarah said, shady. There's so much going on here. And I haven't done a lot of business classes in a while. Like, I have an actual business degree. I have a BBA. But this is just like in my mind. The synapses are firing. I'm like, oh, I remember this. I remember this. I remember this. This is a lot. This is a lot. So we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned for all parties because this is going to not just affect like the artists on SM that we want to have comebacks. This is going to affect what K-pop sounds like in the future. Like I said, I'm going to do a separate video about it, but I have a small discussion that I want to talk about it in terms of like, do you know who owns your faves? Like, do you know who owns what percentage of whoever and why it is certain people own percentages? It's very important. So yeah, this deal basically is for deciding what K-pop will look like at least for the next 10 years. And in a lot of ways, it's going to decide what K-pop looks like in the West for the next 10 plus years as well. So I'm excited to see how this shakes out. But yeah, I wanted to talk to you guys about it because it is messy, 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 messy. It is so messy. So messy. Okay, since I didn't actually talk that long, do you guys have any questions for me? Anything you want me to talk about? Somebody asked me about wearing a trash bag, and like, I'm not interested in doing that, but thank you for asking. But yeah, if you have some questions for me, I could tell you what I'm listening to lately. I listened to the new Triple S album. I thought it was good. Um, yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it had a really nice sound. There was one song on the album called Chol that I was like, this should have been a full song. I was pissed when I heard it because it started out sounding almost like a SZA song, and then it turned to like SZA on Hyperpop, but it was like a 1 minute interlude. It wasn't a real song. And I was like, why would you do this? Why would you give us something that sounds so good and then just not develop it? Not even try to make it a song. What the fuck is this? I'd play some of it for you, but I don't want to have any copyright issues on my channel because anytime I play music, I have like a copyright thing. It's never a strike most of the time. It's most like a copyright warning or something. Are you watching Physical 100? Yes, I am. I think 3 episodes in. So I'm watching like a little bit at a time. Physical 100, first of all, it makes me feel like the fattest, sluggiest person in the world. These people have incredible bodies. They can do incredible things with their bodies. But also, like, the show is mad frustrating. Like, I think there's this stereotype about athletic people as them being cocky. This show does nothing to dispel that rumor. These people are just like, I know I'm gonna win because I'm the strongest man in Korea, or oh, I'm gonna pick that big bulky guy to fight me because I can outrun him because muscles are slow and I'm sleek. Like it's infuriating. It is truly infuriating. But Chusarang's father is on there, so I'm watching for him. Also, just like it's cool to see, how people do. The very first challenge, they had to hang from this thing for like minutes at a time. That was really fun. This challenge that I'm watching right now is them chasing after a ball in this arena, and I'm like, some of these matches are cool, some of these matches are infuriating. But yeah, I'm watching Physical 100 right now, and I can't wait to see how it goes. It's definitely somebody trying to turn the Squid Games into like a reality television show, but without, like, in my opinion, without the psychological component. Like, this really is called Physical 100 because it's got 100 people who are considered at the peak of physical health or at the peak of physical aesthetic beauty. But it really is like a body thing. There's a bit of psychology in terms of like psyching yourself out and telling yourself you believe you can do something, but like really it is really truly like a battle of brawn. And so if you just like people like wrestling, fighting, having it out, this is the show for you. Somebody asked me how I feel about XG. XG is this Japanese group that is currently kind of doing a Y2K R&B kind of musical thing, and they sing all in English. And the music they've been doing lately has been super catchy. Their latest single is Left and Right, and I've heard it. I've heard all the singles actually because there's literally only 4 songs out there, so it is what it is. And I think I like it. The problem is that you cannot buy their music. Like, if you want to physically buy it, you go to their website, it's sold out. You can't find it anywhere else. Like, it is just so hard to, like, get your hands on their music physically, which I get it. We're in a digital society. A lot of people aren't really looking for physical music. I am. So I find that completely frustrating. But also, even though they're singing in English, and they sound good, to me, just to me, their English is just like a little bit off. And it's not even because they have accents. Like, the English is not accented at all to me. It's just that sometimes the emphasis is on the wrong syllables. And so it doesn't flow in the same way that I would expect it to from somebody who sings in English every single day all the time. But I think that the music is good. The styling is very much, again, that kind of Y2K styling. We're at a point where people are like really invested in 90s fashion, Y2K fashion. And so we're seeing a lot of that aesthetically coming from a lot of these groups right now. And we're also hearing it in the sounds. A lot of people are going back to the sounds like early Destiny's Child and Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera when they first debuted. And that kind of sound is really making a comeback. It's coming back to prominence. So, yeah, I think it's cool. And I've talked about like how I want to see SM use other producers, and they said they were going to use other producers. I don't know why SM is not like writing a contract as we speak for Rodney Jerkins to write songs for SM artists. They already had Teddy Riley do songs for SM because Teddy Riley wrote Call Me Baby, which is an amazing fucking song. Like, really and truly perfect. But Rodney Jerkins, otherwise known as Darkchild, say my name, say my name. Rodney Jerkins has written some amazing stuff from like that 90s 2000 period. He wrote The Boy Is Mine for Brandy and Monica. He wrote Destiny's Child, several songs for them. He wrote Wasn't Man Enough for Me by Toni Braxton. Like, Rodney Jerkins, Darkchild, was very important to the whole Y2K scene. I think that if SM is going to spend some money, they need to spend some money convincing Rodney Jerkins to like give them his leftovers and let them turn that into songs for their artists. I think that would be really beneficial. But yeah, I think XG is fine. I'm waiting to see what happens, especially because accessibility. Japan is just so bad at letting other people access their content, and it's really affecting my ability to enjoy them in a pleasurable way. I noticed somebody wrote about Brave Girls disbanding. You know, Brave Girls have always been a victim of bad timing. Like, they've had good music, they've had fun videos, they've had some luck in gathering some attention. But I feel like their big comeback happened right before the pandemic, and they just really could not keep it going because everything was so inconsistent. I don't know if it's a problem with their management. I mean, I would hazard to say that I think it's their management's problem, but it's just like they couldn't ever keep the momentum. They couldn't keep the fire burning for these girls. And that's the thing about K-pop that's just so ruthless. The reason why it's hard for nugu groups to really get out there and really do things is because once you even have the smallest hint of like steam building, you've got to be there pumping it up. You got to be there keeping the heat on. And, you know, if you don't have hit after hit after hit and you keep climbing a little bit higher every time, then it slows down. Like, you get up high and then you don't have a comeback for a while, and then you try to come back up, but you're only making a small increment up, and you've already come several steps down. It's really hard to maintain momentum in K-pop spaces when you aren't a YG act, when you aren't a JYP act, when you're not an SM or a HYBE act. It's very hard to keep momentum. And even in those companies, they usually know that it's hard. And so outside of YG, most of the time, they feed you constantly with music to keep people interested. And Brave Girls, it just would take their company forever to give them content. And even then, it was like hit or miss. So I hate that for them. I'm glad they're going to be able to do a goodbye song. But yeah, I just think that their management didn't get it. And that's a problem. Speaking of YG, like, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of their poor management. I was talking to Mason the other day about YG and about Taeyong. And I was talking to him about Taeyong and the single that he did with Jimin and how, like, it was here today, literally gone the next. I don't hear anybody else really talking about that single anymore. I think it gave like itself a quick spike for a week or two, and then no one was talking about it after that. And that says a lot. It says a lot in a couple of really key ways. Number one, it says that even Jimin from BTS was not enough to keep the buzz on that single. Number two, it says that Black Label has literally no idea what the fuck they're doing. Because, and follow me on this, tell me if I'm wrong. If you had one of the premier voices from one of the premier boy bands in the world on your single, and you're about to release this single with a full music video, would you not have an album ready? Like, ready immediately, ready to ship, or at least a physical single, ready to ship. That did not happen here. There was no physical single, no photo book for a physical single, no album date even released. So basically, they released a buzz single with nothing to buzz about. And it's so frustrating to me. It's so frustrating to me. I'm glad I waited a while to talk about this, because I think if I had waited like a couple of weeks to say, hey, do y'all remember that song Taeyang did with Jimin? That'd have been like, you a hater. You being a bitch. You're a hater. I'm not a hater. I think Jimin sounded great on that song. I did not like the bang that Taeyang had for the second half of the video. And I also thought the song was kind of old-fashioned. I don't think that Vibe was a great song. But I don't understand, with BTS being a guaranteed million seller time after time after time after time, why you wouldn't at least have a physical digipack for Vibe, for fans of both fandoms to purchase. Why was that not in the plans? I don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm not even a K-pop company girl. You know, I'm getting more into the business side because of this whole SM thing, but I'm not even that girl. But I don't understand why you would spend the money on the video, pay to have Jimin show up on the track, even do music shows. Why would you do all that and not have a physical anything? Not even a physical hint of anything. Ready to go. Ready to go. I think that that's the problem with YG, and I wasn't intending to like go into a rant about, you know, why YG sucks, because I could do that all day long every day. We could talk about that all along, but I know that YG is kind of playing the same game that Lee Soo-man is playing with SM. That whole, when daddy's not home, nothing gets done. See what I mean? But he's been, Young Hyun-suk has been so out of the picture for so long now in terms of like being a front-facing part of YG that at this point, let's quit playing games. Let's quit playing games and let's actually go ahead and go back about the business of running a music company. Instead of trying to play these games and be like, we need daddy to come back home, let's go ahead and pull up our britches and just continue the business of running a music company. What you've done with Blackpink is shameful and embarrassing because you have totally underutilized these girls. What you've done with Big Bang is laughable because you've done nothing to keep the team intact. It's crazy. It's crazy that Gigi has been out of the military for so long and we haven't even gotten a single from this man. And to say, well, you know, he's an artist, he'll do things on his own time. The whole point of a record label is to be the Jiminy Cricket in Pinocchio's ear, telling them this is the right way to go. Left to their own devices, there's a lot of artists who just really couldn't do it. There are a lot of artists who need that guiding hand. I could name some of them, but I'm not going to be rude. But with G-Dragon especially, he's somebody who's so interested in so many things that I could see it being very hard to nail him down and be like, hey, over here. I need you to work on a song. No. I don't need you to work on a shoe line or a clothing line. I need you to work on a song. So that's the job that YG has. The job YG has is to be cultivating a relationship with Top and with Daesung to where they wanted to re-sign to the label. The job that YG has is to keep these artists in a place where they can achieve the most success. And they have failed at every point in the last several years when it comes to Big Bang. It's criminal. Then they decide, well, we're going to have Taeyang sign to the Black label, and that'll be a big deal. And then we'll release a single with Jimin from BTS. It'll be a big deal. But it's smoke and mirrors. You do all this, and then you put nothing that could generate money behind it. It's basically like you guys released a perfume commercial. It's ephemeral. It relates to nothing, really. It's just a fun idea. And I don't understand why you let this happen. And I don't think it's Teddy who said, let's release this and not have no album to go with it. It's got to be something else. But seriously, who's making the decisions around there? Treasure? I feel like of all of the boy groups that are like newer boy groups like TXT and Hyphen, Treasure should have had it. Treasure should have had it. I'm not saying that Treasure should have been more successful than TXT. I'm not going that far. What I'm saying is Treasure had a great shot at getting everything they wanted out of being a YG group. Why do I say that? Because they had no competition. You know, one of the things that amazes me about the fact that TXT is as popular as they are is that TXT has to constantly compete with the idea that they're only as popular as they are because they're the little brother group of BTS. Whereas Treasure doesn't have that. No one's going to look at Treasure and think, oh, you're the little brother group of Winner. You're the little brother group of iKON. You're the little brother group of BTS. Not BTS, but Big Bang. No one's going to do that to Treasure. Treasure has all of the room in the world to create their own identity, to not be under the shackles of anybody or any style, and just really get out there. And they've lost key people already from the group. They don't really, to me, have a fan base that's especially vigilant about them or especially obsessive about them. Like, they release stuff, people like it, and then they promptly forget about them until they hear, oh, they're coming back again, that's cool. You don't have people actively waiting for a comeback for Treasure. Meanwhile, when you look at like a TXT, people are like, man, it's been 15 minutes since we had a TXT song. I wonder when they're going to have a comeback. Them boys work. And that's something that I don't understand. Especially because TXT are boys. I almost get it that YG doesn't know what the fuck to do with a lady because of the misogyny. TXT are boys, and they don't know what the fuck to do with them. That's crazy. It's crazy. It makes no sense. So, I don't know what's going to happen with YG. I really and truly don't know if YG as a label will survive over the next, I would say, 10 years. I would give it at least 10 years. I think they got enough smoke to last for 5. But let's see what 10 looks like. But if things don't change and they don't start getting more strategic about what they do and start living in the world we live in now, I don't see them being able to recover. Because the world we live in now, they don't mind if you only release singles. They're fine with that. But they want you to release that shit. And if you wait a long time to come back, you better come back with something that's not only awesome, but something new. Something that really changes the trajectory of things. I'm thinking specifically of Miley Cyrus. I know she's not K-pop, but follow me here. Miley Cyrus waits a little bit between comebacks. She'll give you a few years before she comes back. But when she comes back, she's a brand new bitch. She's a brand new bitch. She's not giving you the same thing she gave you the last time you saw her. And recently with Flowers, she's giving you something brand new from her. Even though it's still Miley, she still has the same voice. She's giving you something new. And when I think about that and how good Flowers is doing and how this is turning into one of her biggest hits ever, even though she's well off into her career, it just goes to show if you make people wait, you have to give them something that justifies the wait. There's no way that as long as it's been since we had the last Taeyong solo, that Vibe was worth the wait. There's nothing about Vibe that says new. There's nothing about Vibe that says innovative. Even the look of the video. There's nothing about the look of the video even that's new. And so I can't figure out what the in-game strategy is for what the fuck YG is doing right now. I really can't. And I wish somebody could explain it to me. And I think the reason why it makes me so frustrated to be at this point with YG is because I know some people who have really been ride or die for YG. Like, I'm thinking Katie Boo specifically, how fucking ride or die she's been for YG. And the fact that as ride or die as she's been, as loyal as she's been, as much as she's tried very hard to like keep on the positive side of things, even going back and like completing older parts of the collection because there's nothing new to buy, that they would reward that loyalty with the absolute less than bare minimum. That's frustrating. Like, as much as I can grumble and complain about being an SM stan, I still get content fairly regularly. I'm well fed over at SM, and I think most JYP stands are pretty well fed. Like, if you stand twice, you're eating. You're not going hungry. So I just don't understand why the fuck YG can't get it together. I don't get it. I do not get it. Let's see. Any other questions for me? Anything else you'd like me to address, talk about? Because, I'm almost at an hour. I'm just like, 15 minutes short of an hour. So if you want to talk about it, let me know. I bought TXT's new album, Temptation. I did buy that. I didn't do an unboxing because my pulls were just sad. I didn't have good pulls, but it is what it is. I think I told you I have Killer coming in soon. I'm really excited about that. I don't know if there's anything else I'm excited about. I mean, again, like the whole SM corporate stuff is making it to where it's really hard to be excited about comebacks from SM because we really don't know what the fuck is going to happen. Especially, it's really tough as a SHINee fan because we're supposed to have our 15-year anniversary in May. Taemin's supposed to come back from the military in April, and we're supposed to have our 15-year anniversary in May, which is a huge anniversary. It really is. It's a massive anniversary for the fandom because it's been 15 years since SHINee debuted as a group. It's now been over 5 years since Jonghyun passed away. This is their 5th anniversary they've had since he passed away, and it's just very unfortunate that because of all this corporate bullshit, we might not get the festivities or the music that we were hoping to have for this anniversary. Okay, so Multi-Million Fandom says New Jeans is topping Blackpink, I think because people are sick of long comebacks and songs. I don't know. I agree. I think that one of the things that they've been able to do with New Jeans that is very impressive is that they really leaned into something that K-pop has had all along, but that has kind of been whittled away for Western acceptance. And that's the kind of like earwormy quality of K-pop. When you think of early K-pop songs, it's not just the key dance that you think of when you think of the songs or the way the music video looked, but also there's always a hook. There's always been a hook in the best K-pop songs. So I'm thinking of like Genie. When you think of Genie, that chorus hits. And when you think of New Jeans and you think of OMG, that chorus is what's blowing up on TikTok. The key dance of the oh my god, like that's what's blowing up. It's not just the fashion. It's not just the fact that they're doing a Y2K aesthetic, but they're bringing back like the catchiness of K-pop. One of the catchiest groups in K-pop that has ever existed, who gets their roses but don't really get them as frequently as they should, is T-ara. T-ara had some of the catchiest songs in all of K-pop. And when I think of quintessential K-pop group, I know a lot of us are going to go to a 2NE1, a lot of us are going to go to a Girls' Generation, but really and truly, the quintessential K-pop group is T-ara. They really embody what it is about K-pop that makes K-pop so much fun. Their videos were outlandish. Their songs made no sense practically. And it was filled with like just random noises and repeats and just fun shit. And it was a joy to listen to. Like, you could not listen to a T-ara song and be like, I'm really upset and this has gotten me in an even worse mood. No, it was like, I was really upset and I heard this song and I just got lost in like, kiss me baby, I must be stay here day by day. Like, it's just, it's just, that's what it is. And that's something that New Jeans is bringing out. And for a lot of people in the West who think that K-pop is BTS or think that K-pop is Blackpink or maybe even sometimes twice, they've never been exposed to that version of K-pop. And I think that is the secret ticket, because Blackpink tries very hard to lean into Girl Crush, which Girl Crush was basically YG saying we need to do a feminine version of this kind of Western style of hip hop music we've been doing with Big Bang and everybody else. Like the whole point of YG is that YG, at least according to most Koreans, YG has the most Western delivery of all of the K-pop companies when it comes to like delivering the songs. And that worked really well for YG at a time when the rest of K-pop was just sounding like K-pop and it wasn't sounding like YG. But at this point, Blackpink's sound, people get it, got it good, they're ready for something else. They're ready for something they haven't heard. And New Jeans having the global reach because of their affiliation with HYBE has made it to where people for the first time are hearing what those of us who have been a part of second gen have been hearing all along in K-pop. That totally earwormy, catchy quality that K-pop has, that you get from songs like Genie, that you get from songs like I'm the Best, that you get from songs like Funny Honey and Anything Orange Caramel. You know, that quality of K-pop has been severely lacking. And with the girl groups that come from some of the other labels like Starship and whoever else is out there, the problem has been they have honestly been looking for domestic approval, but they haven't been coming at it from like the music aspect of things. They've been coming at it from the gaining uncle fans and gaining military fans, but they haven't really been capitalizing again on the fun aspect of K-pop, which to me was always the selling point of K-pop. Like K-pop for me was like expertly done kids bop, expertly done pop music, like expertly done, like getting to the core of what the definition of the word fun is. And so I think that's what keeps New Jeans on top. I really do. I'm interested to see what a New Jeans album could be, because we're getting good singles, we're getting nice minis, it's cool, but an album would be a different thing for New Jeans, because an album would mean giving us ballads and giving us mid-tempos and, you know, maybe flexing a little bit more of your style, and that'd be interesting to see in long form. But in terms of like these short releases, they're giving it to the girls, and it's something that has been sorely missed, and it's something that when I would tell people you should listen to K-pop, that's what I meant. Also, can we just talk about this very quickly? I'm not going to talk about it for very long. Make up your fucking minds, those of you who say, I don't like K-pop, I like BTS. But then you turn around and say, BTS paved the way. Paved the way for whom and what, dear? Paved the way for whom and what? Because if BTS is not K-pop, then who did they pave the way for? I don't really have anything else to say about that. I saw a tweet the other day that really just bugged the shit out of me. And it bugged the shit out of me because it was some more of these like super entitled, very xenophobic fans, honestly, of BTS, talking about, you know, BTS paved the way and they didn't pave the way for this, that, the other. I don't know what the fuck they were talking about. But I was just thinking, you know, there was a narrative very early on in BTS's expansion into the US about BTS paving the way. But then also fans being adamant what they like about BTS is that BTS is not K-pop. And they would say all types of mean and rude and weird shit about K-pop. And this was a group that was singing pop music in Korean, but they weren't K-pop. And I just don't think that enough discussion was made about how fucking xenophobic that was, because you don't have Western acts you don't have Despacito getting popular and people saying, I'm into Despacito, I'm not into Latin music. Or saying, oh, Luis Fonsi paved the way for Bad Bunny. You don't have that discussion with other genres that come into Western spaces. But with K-pop, because Asian people are considered so other in Western spaces, you are allowed to have that kind of conversation, which to me is wild. And so a lot of the xenophobia related to that mentality is not really explored the way it should be. But seriously, I have to ask, if BTS paved the way, but BTS is not K-pop, who did they pave the way for? I mean, questions that need answers, But it's the same thing with the fact that like Suga interviewed Taeyong as part of his little interview show, and basically said like, you paved the way for BTS. BTS couldn't be here if it wasn't for y'all, and people got mad at a member of BTS for saying this individual I'm talking to inspired me to be where I'm at. They're like, how dare you acknowledge that anyone could possibly take credit for where you are today? Where have y'all lost the fucking plot? Seriously, where have you lost the plot? How did you get to this point in your life? How did you get so fucking delusional that when a man opens his mouth and says, this was a major influence in my life, and I do not believe that me or my group members could be here if it wasn't for the fact that this man did this thing that we found admirable and was inspiring to us. How do you get to the point where you tell him, you're fucking wrong? You don't know what the fuck you are talking about when it comes to your life and your group. That's fucking wild. That is fucking wild. So, yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand, and I don't think there's enough conversations about how wildly stupid that whole conversation is. Like, just to put it out there, how xenophobic, how fucking racist, how fucking just awful that conversation is. Okay, I don't have any guts with K-pop fans for this reason. I know I shouldn't be scared, but I have no huevos or balls. I know, it's hard to be brave. She did an interview with Taeyong, and people went crazy because he was saying Taeyong is a great artist. I'm just saying, like, I guess it's because I don't have a very large platform, and most fans clearly went around when BTS were always singing to Big Bang songs back in the day. True, right? Like, you don't remember when BTS practically creamed themselves trying to meet BTS or meet Big Bang backstage? Y'all went around for that. But, like, seriously, I don't have a large platform. I don't have a large audience. Like, most of the time my videos get between, like, 150 to maybe 250 views. So I don't get a lot of people watching my videos. So I feel very comfortable to say the things I say on both my Twitter and on my videos because I just know, like, there's not enough people putting eyes on it for me to get in trouble. But I mean everything I'm saying. And I'm pretty brave about it because, again, no one's paying any attention to me, so it doesn't take a lot of bravery to say it. But also, I don't think the things that I'm saying are unreasonable. I don't think I'm putting forward arguments that are inherently offensive. Like, there are some things I say that are not nice, and the stuff I say when I'm not talking to you guys, boy, I can get wild. A lot of times I even have to preface it. I'll be talking to Stevie, I'm like, listen, can I say something that's going to be offensive? And she's like, you always say something that's offensive. I'm like, true, but this time I need you to prepare yourself. But on here, I really do try to say the thing that is the most honest, and to say the thing that I sometimes feel like other people are afraid to say because they are afraid of the backlash. I mean, people have been doxxed by armies. People have been death threatened by armies. People have been really made scared for their lives and the lives of their loved ones behind a lot of this internet bullshit. And so because of that, I definitely feel like it's respectable if somebody says, I don't want to talk about that because I don't want to be in trouble. I absolutely respect that opinion. I just don't happen to share that feeling because, again, like I said, I just don't have that same fear because I don't have a big enough audience. You know what I'm saying? And also because I really do feel like the things that I say and the arguments I make are fair points. Even when I've had a bad take and I've had to apologize for that bad take, I still feel like where I came from was fairly honest. And I'm going to be honest right now and just say, like, there are so many problematic discussions around BTS that aren't had because people are scared. And if we were to frame those conversations and really just logic them down, there should be no reason for anyone to be scared. In my opinion, like saying that certain BTS fans are xenophobic when they try to extract BTS from their Korean identities by saying they're not K-pop, or saying that the entire economy of Korea is basically owing to BTS. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, like, no, girl, let's backtrack that and talk about why that's xenophobic, because there's not a single artist in any other country where their fans will say the GDP of this country depends on the success of this musical act. There's no other country on the face of the earth where that is said. And, you know, there's a good chance somebody could say, like, Bad Bunny really brings in the bucks to Puerto Rico. You could say that, but you're not going to say Puerto Rico would be nothing if it wasn't for Bad Bunny. You'd never say that because you realize how fucked up and foul that is. And Puerto Rico doesn't even have a Samsung or an LG or a Hyundai or a Kia. But Korea does. Korea does have a Samsung and an LG and a Hyundai and a Kia. They have huge technologies in Korea that are all over the world. Yet and still, there are BTS fans that will tell you BTS basically introduced the rest of the world to Korea. Girl, get the fuck out of here. Like, seriously, get the fuck out of here. That is such a xenophobic view of this country. Then to say BTS is not K-pop. What the fuck is K-pop then? Since you say they're not K-pop, what the fuck is K-pop? Oh, well, K-pop is corny. Oh, well, K-pop is girls. Oh, well, K-pop... Anything that you think that K-pop is, I can guarantee you that there's somebody who worked on K-pop that worked on something for BTS. Any argument you can have about why BTS is not related to K-pop when literally their label head worked for JYP and that's where he got his start. Again, it all goes back. Literally the first time we ever saw certain members of BTS was in a Jokwon video. Jokwon of 2AM, a JYP act. They are K-pop, girl. Boy, whoever the fuck you are, they are K-pop. They are K-pop. You can't divorce them from what they are. So, yeah. I think there's a lot of things that can be said about BTS that can be completely logicked and have a discussion that is not nearly as disrespectful as the discussions that I have, where I'm like out here calling people names, but yeah, I think you can have those discussions and, you know, really logic it out and really put some shit in people's faces and show them where, like, the things that you say are so wildly out of pocket that you really need to think about, like, would you want somebody to read back your tweets in 5 years and know that you said this shit? You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed that you said this because it's wrong. It's wrong. And it's incredibly disrespectful. It's incredibly disrespectful of so many people. To divorce BTS from the legacy of K-pop is so disrespectful because it makes it seem like there was no precedent for this group. Granted, their success in the US and in other parts of the world, there is no precedent for how huge they have gotten. But there's barely a country that BTS has stepped foot in that another K-pop group has not stepped foot in. Girls' Generation was in China. Tiara was in Japan. TVXQ was in Japan. Kara was in Japan. Psy was in America. Girls' Generation was in America. Girls' Generation got a YouTube award before BTS debuted for Got a Boy. I got a boy on my chin. I got a boy chicken. Like, they're not the first. And you could say paved the way if you want to say, like, in terms of American album sales. That would be one that I would absolutely agree with you. BTS paved the way in terms of pushing big numbers of units in the United States. I'll agree with you on that. They weren't the first to sell their albums in America. That would be BoA and Girls' Generation, possibly Seven, and maybe even Psy. But if you say, like, in terms of, like, regularly being up in that target, I totally agree with you on that one. If you say in terms of appearing on award shows in a way that, like, people expect them to get a win, I'd agree with you on that. If you were to say it was their collaborations with U.S. artists, totally agree with you on a lot of that. Not all of it, because Seven collaborated with Lil' Kim. Some of it, not all of it. But again, paved the way for whom? Hoops. Even being on an award show. Rain did that first. Rain was on the MTV Awards. He won an MTV award. So, yeah. I just... that always sticks in my craw. But I don't blame BTS for the narratives that have been written around them, because they didn't write those narratives. I don't think that BTS told their fans, you need to say pave the way. I don't believe they had any hand in that at all. And I think that's the other thing that makes it very hard to have these discussions, is the fact that when we're talking about BTS, we say BTS as an entity. But BTS is, even though people don't want to admit it, BTS is more than 7 dudes. BTS is also the name of the group. It's also the idea of what they represent. It's also these fandom creations. It's also the way that they're marketed. It's also the narrative they've ascribed to what their group does. And a lot of times when we say BTS, we're talking about the concept of a BTS. We're not talking about the individual guys, the 7, and who they are as people. We're talking about big concept BTS. And that's the other reason why it is very difficult to have these conversations, because when you're talking about, the idea that BTS paved the way is xenophobic, and divorcing them from K-pop is also a flawed xenophobic thought process. When you're saying all that, it's easy for people to say, oh, you're personally insulting Kim Namjoon. You're personally insulting Min Yoongi. You're personally insulting Hoseok. No, I'm not. I'm addressing your concept of who BTS is. I'm addressing your idea of what they are as an entity. Personally, there's a lot of the bullshit around that group that has nothing to do with those 7 men. Absolutely nothing to do with them. Most of what goes on in terms of the conversation and the narrative around that group have everything to do with their label, have everything to do with the marketing, have everything to do with the silence that a lot of the problematic behavior has been met with. Has very, very little to do with those 7 men. Those are 7 individuals that we don't even know, to be quite honest with you. We get glimpses, very curated glimpses of who they are. But at this point, the machine is so finely honed that a slip up like today's Hickey is wildly out of place with everything else that has been manicured and meant for public consumption. Like, that was an actual, mistake. That was a mistake. And even then, that might be an entry to a different type of thing that we're supposed to be introduced to. Like, it may be that Namjoon has every intention of introducing us to his life partner. And this Hickey is to get the conversation started. and it's being done in phases. I'm not saying it is, but just saying it could very well be so. Like, this could be something that's like, it's a accident, but it's really on purpose. I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying it could be. But we really don't know these 7 men. There's a lot about them that we are given, and it's looked at as candid, but it's not. So because of that, I think that's also something that always has to be kept in the forefront of those discussions. And I say that not just about BTS. I say that about every single group. As much as I feel like I know SHINee and SHINee is exactly who I think they are, not really. Not really. SHINee, I don't know them at all. I do not know them at all. I know what I believe them to be, but I don't know them at all. I don't even speak the same language they do. How could I know them? So that's always something that like needs to be in the forefront of everybody's mind when we're having these discussions. These are not personal indictments of any of the individuals of the group. This has to do with big picture concept, not individual peoples. Let's be clear. One of the things that has made me really happy is that he did a live stream where he talked about just different things while discussing his comeback. And somebody asked him about a tour. And he said, with everything going on in the company, I don't know. I don't know. And I've been watching SHINee content for many, many, many years. And I think that was a moment that gave me chills because it was the most unmanicured, kind of off-the-cuff statement I'd ever heard Key make on any television show. Ever. Anything with SHINee. And he's always been very vulnerable with us. He's always been, he's always been willing to like share bits of himself, tell us what he's super interested in, things like that. He's been fairly revealing over the years. And also, Key does a lot of television because of him being a member of Amazing Saturday. But the look on his face as he said it, he didn't say it like he was super troubled. He didn't say it like he was rehearsing this because Isuman wanted him to say it. No. The way he said it was almost like, I didn't anticipate having this conversation, but like, just to let you know, I really don't know what's going on right now. But this was already in the can, so come back it is. And it was just eye-opening, number one, to still be surprised by something that a member of SHINee has to say after all these years. But two, it was just really brought home the fact that as prepared as you go into comebacks, as much TV training and media training as you get when you've been a part of a group for close to a decade and a half, there's still things that are up in the air. There are still unknowns. There are still variables. And at this point in his career, this is a huge variable for him. And it's something that it's not like the artists and the employees at SM are confident that they'll all get through this and they'll all make it out unscathed. There are really people who are worried that maybe this won't work, that maybe this could really shake up some things in ways that people don't want it to. And, it was a peek behind the curtain that we hadn't had in a really long time. So, yeah, when it comes to discussing groups, especially when it comes to discussing groups in K-pop, with as tight a leash as their companies keep on them, I don't think that we can ever say that when we're talking about a SHINee, an EXO, a BTS, a Blackpink, a Twice, that we're talking about those individuals. We really and truly are mostly talking about the concept of those groups because we don't know them and we'll never know them. And because we'll never know them, we really need to keep our conversations up here instead of trying to put them over here because this we don't know anything about. I'm worried about my babies. Oh, I was going to talk about something else. had it right here, and then it just floated away. Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. I have a thought very close to my heart. And oh, this is random. This is so random, but I just want to say this anyway. I didn't get Beyonce tickets. That's one. Two, Stray Kids and BSS. Stray Kids. I really want to know them. Like, I don't know what it is about Stray Kids, but Stray Kids, much like 17, I just don't get it. I don't get it. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying they're good. I'm saying I don't get it. I really wish I could get it, though. Like, Stray Kids really is like the black hole for me when it comes to K-pop. It's like, I know it exists. I know it's powerful. But I just can't grasp the concept. Don't know why. But then BSS. I was on Catch Up CD ordering my Key Killer albums. And I saw that they had like the special edition version of BSS's project, which I think BSS is like 3 members of 17. And that thing was like almost $50 before shipping. Just straight up like $47. So I went to the product description so I could know, what are you getting for $50? Like, what are they selling you? It was fucking wild. It was a scrunchie. It was a headband. It was a t-shirt. It was a face mask. It was some socks. And then I'm assuming a CD. Like, by the time I got to the socks, I was not actually sure if you were buying music at this point. I'm like, you're buying a fan costume to wear to a concert. That's what this is, right? I think that the idea of a scrunchie and a headband and a face mask and even socks, I think is super cute. I think the t-shirt is a problem. I do. And I say this as a person who has experienced fat phobia in my life. As a young woman, hell, as a teenager, I used to hate when they would give t-shirts to us at school, or when the company would say, we've got shirts for everybody. Because I was always one of those people who never could find a shirt in my size. And even when they had bins of shirts and like, oh, it's small, medium, large, extra large, whatever. I remember being one of those people who very rarely could find something in my size. And even when I'd find it in my size, it'd be like skin tight. I'm heavy. For those of you who don't know, I'm a size 20 US in women's clothes. So I'm a heavy girl. This t-shirt I'm wearing now is fairly baggy. It's a 4X t-shirt, but most of the time if I want my t-shirt to fit well, I'm wearing a 2X. So I'm a larger girl. And it's always been kind of like, it always felt exclusionary that I couldn't buy things from the groups I liked because they didn't make it in my size. And I can only imagine how sad it would make me feel as a fan if I had the money to buy this $50 CD with all this fan inclusion stuff that's so incredibly cute. But the main thing that's in that package, the t-shirt, I couldn't enjoy because it's made for a little girl. And I'm not a little girl. What if I'm not even a girl at all? What if I am a broad-shouldered guy who just really likes 17 and has the money to spend and wants to spend it in that capacity? But I'm going to get something that I absolutely cannot use. I can only look at it because it doesn't fit for me. I find that problematic. And I don't think that 17 or their company did that intentionally to make anybody feel excluded. But I can imagine somebody who had that thought in their mind of, here's this thing that I really like from this group, I really like, and I'd love to contribute and be a part of it, but I can't. So I don't know. I think that the other things, like I said, the other things inside the package looked pretty good and would be fun to have. And like if Shiny did it, I'd probably want to buy. But I would be disappointed having a shirt that I could not wear. That would make me very, very sad. So, I thought I'd put that out there because it's been a long time since I've seen a shirt as a part of a CD purchase. Like the last shirt, I actually do have a shirt that's a part of a CD. The last shirt that I saw that was a part of a CD was I bought a deluxe version of a Wonder Girls album. It's the Wonder Girls album that has Be My Baby. And the deluxe version came with like a white Wonder Girls t-shirt. I've never worn that shirt. I've never even unfolded that shirt. I don't know what that shirt looks like. I just know it's white. But it came in this deluxe version that I bought from a Japanese auction. And I never even tried to unfold that shirt because I knew I'd never be able to wear it. And so I thought we were at a point where, especially with like size inclusion and everything else, that we weren't really doing that anymore. So I'm just surprised to see that there. But, you know, that is obviously a very specific gripe that I have and that other larger people have. I don't think that's a gripe necessarily that smaller people would have. So that's just me being an asshole. You can ignore me. Well, I finally made it past the 1 hour mark. We've done an hour and 20. I'm very proud of this hour and 20. I think I covered a myriad of things. I think I've given all of us a lot to talk about, discuss. I'd love to hear your comments. I haven't answered a lot of the comments on the last video I did. Well, the last video I did was talking about Key's Killer, but the video right before that, there were a lot of comments about the discussion I had about the whole SM stuff, and I haven't written back to a lot of those responses because I feel like some of the things that they asked me about, I'm going to address when I do my larger SM discussion video. But I say all that to say, I do appreciate your comments, and I am trying very hard to be more responsive. Your comments super make my day. There are lots of things that I would love to say to you guys. That there's lots of things I'd love to do for you guys and with you guys that I just can't. But what I can do is when I have the opportunity to do it, I can share my time. And when I make these videos, this is me sharing my time with you, sharing my thoughts with you, trying to be as honest and as vulnerable as I can without violating my own personal comfort zone. And I hope that you know that I'm trying here. I really am trying here. It's still tough for me. A lot of the stuff I was going through over kind of like the spring and summer of 2022, a lot of that stuff is still not completely resolved, but I'm working through it and it's getting better. And yeah, we're still here. I haven't quite deleted the channel yet. So thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your time with me. I hope you don't feel like it's a waste. It's been so much fun to see some faces I haven't seen in a really long time. And the conversation in the chat has been lit. You guys are awesome. You guys remembered so many collabs that I totally forgot about. And I just thank you for your time. This was a lot of fun. Talk to you guys later. Bye. Oh, and just lastly, this is not for anyone in particular. If you watch BL, I'm trying to get back into BL again. I finished KinnPorsche finally. Great show. Horrible ending. Great show. I am now trying to finish off the new history series, History 5. Shit show. Talk to you guys later. Bye.